What's up, guys? You guessed it. We are back again with another episode of Summer Lunch Break. Today, we're joining Quinn Silvernale for a quick bite and some major wake talk covering all things VWC, Koppert Lake, Saints Mob, and the Coalition, the movie, the Trilogy. Fun fact of the day, Quinn used to work at Active Water Sports. Coming to the West Coast for not only one, but 2 summers, Quinn shares his story of traveling cross-country to be a part of the AWS crew up at Koppert Lake. Quinn also dives deep into what it took to build Valdosta Wake Compound from an idea between him and his college friend Luke Tilt to the park rider's paradise it is today. Not only do we get insight on VWC, we also get to hear some spoilers on the newest Coalition movie, the Trilogy. As we all know, this industry has a super special place for full-length film, and the Space Mob crew always delivers. So grab some grub and settle in. It's Quinn Silvernale.
You know what I'm really scared about is if the wakeboarders get too close to shore, they may use some people on the shore as bonking items.
Summer Lunch Break.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be on Summer Lunch Break.
We are so stoked to have you here. The other day when we saw each other at the Alliance, the Beers and Premiers thing, Dan and I were like, oh, dope, yeah, remember when, Dan was kind of like, remember when Quinn was on? I was like, no. And then I was like, oh my God, like he did the guest question for Wes, but we haven't had him on the show. So I'm stoked that we are chatting today. I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to chat as well.
Well, I have to ask, I know you're different time zones, so it's not necessarily lunchtime, but the most important question today is what you have or what you had for lunch.
Let's see. Had a pretty light lunch today, like 100 boiled peanuts that Dairy made. We have a peanut field like right behind the park.
Way.
And yeah, don't tell anybody, but Dairy goes out there sometimes and steals peanuts and makes his own homemade blends. And so today I've pretty much just been eating boiled peanuts all day, and I haven't even thought about one.
Dang, that's insane. A peanut field. Do they grow on, is it a tree or is it a bush?
It's like a little bush, and then you pull it out, and it's just all underground.
Oh,
you just
weird.
gotta wash off the peanuts and everything.
Dude, the more you know. That's rad. Well, all right. We'll get right into it then. Oh, no, go. What's up?
Oh, the boiled peanuts are a southern delicacy down here. I don't know if you guys have them up there, but it's pretty much, if you ever come down to the south, you always have to get some boiled peanuts for sure.
I'll keep that in mind because, yeah, that I don't really think that's a thing around here unless I'm completely disconnected from the peanut world, but I've never heard of it, so it sounds good.
Delicious.
All right, we're going to jump straight in with your story. That's how I like to start these interviews because I think that's really important to share how everybody got started in the wake world. So tell me about your first wake experience, the first time you strapped into a wakeboard. What was that like?
It was exciting. I had been doing like water skiing, snow skiing, knee boarding, all the water sports. My dad's really into slalom skiing and barefooting and pretty much all the water sports also. And once I think my cousins or something came out and they brought a wakeboard, and it was like I was a little kid, so I was obviously like the last person that was going to get to try it. And then at the end of the day, they finally were like, anybody else want to try it? And I was just like the first one down to try. And I think I got up like my third try maybe, or something like that. Something really old, way too big, but I was pretty excited about that. And then I think that year my parents found a wakeboard on the side of the road. This was up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I think they like re-gifted it to my older sister as like a birthday present or something, because I don't know. But I ended up basically kind of taking over this wakeboard. I still have it, but yeah, it that was pretty much, I think that wakeboard was really when I started to kind of get hooked on it. But I was already really intrigued, like watching everybody try it that first day when my cousins brought it out. It was like I couldn't wait to try it. It was the most exciting thing to me at the time that I could even think of. I was ecstatic.
Rad, that's cool. So when you kind of took over this board from your sister, you started riding. What were those years of kind of, I could only imagine there was a lot of progression happening then. What was kind of, the snowball effect of your skills growing and learning so much more behind the boat, or however, wherever you were riding? I'm assuming you started behind a boat.
Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. It was behind the boat, the old ski boat. My dad had like a ski eliminator. I don't know if anybody knows. I'm sure some of the OGs will know about that brand, but it was totally just ski boat, and the progression was really slow. I mean, I didn't know that there was like a wakeboarding, like, to me it was just another thing to do. I was just into just doing all the things. So I didn't even know that there was like a wakeboarding tournament or anything like
Yeah.
that. I was just like, I guess it was just like me, my dad, and a couple of my cousins in the summertime. And then eventually we moved to Georgia, and we would spend all the summers up there. So it was like on weekends or in the summer, but we were just basically trying to like teach ourselves how to do stuff. Like I
Yeah.
remember we had like sandal bindings on there, and I remember just wanting to learn like a 360, and I'd never seen anybody do it. And it was like we were literally just, all the stuff was already happening out there, like all the Byerly and everybody, but like we were just like in our own world, had no idea what was going on. And so I remember like taking our fin off, because me and my dad were like, I think if we take this huge fin off, we'll be able to like spin off the top of the wake and like do 360s. And it was like a whole summer of us just getting roasted behind the boat, trying 360s like the complete wrong way. And yeah, I think the next summer, maybe it was that summer, there was a certain year that we just like literally blew out every insert on the board. It might have been the second board we got. It was like the first twin tip we had. The first one was a directional. And I think it was just like we'd blow an insert out and just move the binding to the next insert, blow that insert out, move the binding to the next insert, and just until we were completely out. And then the first like real wakeboard I ever got was a gator board, actually. I mean, the other ones were real wakeboards, but like this was like the first one that was like, this was a big deal to me, because this is like an independent company, and I was like starting to understand like how it all worked and getting the magazines and all that at that point. And it was actually because once I realized that I wasn't just making up wakeboarding by myself with my dad, some other cousin or somebody came out and was like, pretty much, I guess they were sponsored by Gator Boards or some sort of plug with Gator Boards, and they came out and just like blew everyone's minds. He like, I think he like brought his own fat sacks. He had all the bells and whistles, and it was like, oh my gosh, you can do flips on this thing. Oh my gosh, you can do flips with 360s on this thing. Oh my gosh, you can do Supermans. It was like insane. And then he taught me a backflip, a tantrum that first day. It took me a little bit, and then after that, I was like totally hooked. And we were already about to get a new board. I think that was like the same week that we had blown out the last inserts on our board. And so he brought his board for us all to ride. So got the board, and from then I was pretty hooked. I think at that point I was probably in like 9th grade. I probably started like wakeboarding when I was in like 4th or 5th grade.
That's badass. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rad.
made up our own thing. I got a cassette deck on eBay, like right when they came out. I was just like fully submerged in like doing stuff behind a boat, but not having any clue how to do any of it.
Yeah, totally. When did you kind of start figuring out that there were, you mentioned like it clicked that there were other people out there doing these things, and did you start kind of following along with like pros that were out there like in the magazines and stuff?
Yeah, I think probably like after once I like realized it was really that gator board situation. Like somebody told me this kid was like sponsored, and then that made me like look into like what a wakeboard company was basically outside of just like they're just like selling them in like Overtons or something like that.
Yeah.
To me that was like it. I just like, oh, if they have it, it's probably good. And so that was the first time that I really like got a taste of like the actual culture. I got to go to like a board shop that had all the new gator boards, and they were a new company too. It was like the first year I think they existed. And up in Minnesota, I think they had a few guys who were like riding for them, so there was like a bunch of them out there. So that kind of like pulled me in, and then I just started like buying all these videos on eBay, and I
Oh,
bought a
no.
whole like a package deal of these Canadian videos, like Canadian bacon, sea monkeys,
Oh, I
and
know that one.
there's like three. They were like maybe a trilogy or something, or they were all made by the same people, but those are insane. Just like that had obviously been those. They were a little older when I got them, so it was crazy to see how much like stuff people had already done that I didn't even know about. And then I guess it was like around that time that Welcome came out, that Hyperlight video where they went to Radar Lake, and that was kind of the first time I saw like rails, and it was that video. I got that one on eBay and just pretty much had it in the Xbox or whatever on repeat.
Yeah,
And fell asleep probably with that thing playing every single
yeah.
night. And yeah, it was really, I mean, kind of just that first interaction just like opened my whole world up to like
Totally.
there's like riders that are like people know who they are and stuff out there. I just had no real idea of like the industry side of it. I just thought it was like an activity.
Yeah,
So
right. I know. Yeah. To a lot of people, it's just, what you do on the weekends. But to people, once you figure out that there's this like whole world, it's mind blowing. You mentioned
yeah.
you saw rails and stuff in that video. When did you ride at like a cable park, or when did you hit like a feature for like the first time? How old were you?
I think when I was in high school, the first feature maybe there was this like a outside of Atlanta kind of country, kind of suburban area, but like a big mud pit basically. And all these kids would take their off-road trucks and all their lifted jacked up Jeeps and everything and go get stuck out there and pull each other out and have a great time. And it would always flood. So I
There
got
you
a
go.
buddy who had like some jacked up Jeep and a picnic table and kind of set it up. I think I was probably like a sophomore in high school or something like this. Probably the year I could drive or my friends could drive,
Yeah,
and set it up because I didn't know anything about winching or anything like that at the time, and so or I don't even know if it existed yet. But yeah, we just probably picnic table in the mud pit behind a Jeep. And then at some point, my parents had a lake house in South Carolina, like a little spot that had like an island across from it. And
cool.
I had this, my dad helped me build this rail. It's just a flat bar, and it had huge legs on it with T posts so it could like stand on the bottom, and all these like concrete buckets to weigh it in. And I was dedicated to using it for sure, but it was like every time I wanted to pull this thing out, it's only like 16 feet long and probably like this high of an ollie if we set it up where where I wanted it or something. And I just remember like every time I wanted to set this thing up, all of my friends who were there just like, for real, like why do we gotta set this thing up?
Yeah.
It took every single person to like take it in and back out. And I think one day the DNR found it or something, and it's probably just a blessing in disguise because we were wasting a whole lot of time.
Dude, that's rad. I had no idea. You got to work for it, you know?
For sure. There's been a lot of those, specifically at my parents' lake house, where go on some insane mission to get some box or some material or some handrail that's sitting on a bank unattended or something, and then you build this rail, session it for a day, and go back the next day, and it's totally gone. And you like spent like 3 days to even get whatever it was built or set up, and then you only got to ride it for like one session, and then totally gone.
Back to square one again. Got to start over.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about, you know, hitting some rails and stuff like that. You worked at Koppert Lake.
I did for 2 summers.
Yeah. I mean, you're all the way over there and Koppert's all the way over here. What made you pack up and come over here for the summer to work there?
At that time I was in college, here in Valdosta, and this was like the time where we kind of didn't have access to a boat at all. Mm-hmm. And we were in the wakeboard club team. My buddy Chris, he was a year older than me, maybe 2, and he, I think, found it maybe on like Wake World or something way back then when like the forums were a big thing. Yeah. And he found the job offer or something, and he was like, dude, we should do this. And we had been riding at Gravity Research Compound, which is like an hour and 45 minutes north of Valdosta. That's Cross's backyard, basically. He was just a little baby back then. But we were really into the rails at that point. Like it was all kind of, that was what we were doing. Like I think we were into winching by then. We were like building our own winch spots in Valdosta because there's nowhere to ride here. Yeah. And so it's kind of like a lot of people like move to Florida and all that in the summer times to work and ride and do all that. So that was kind of, we're really close to Florida, but that was kind of our way of doing that, but like going somewhere different. And yeah. And it was kind of like too good to be true because nobody really knew about it. I mean, if you knew, you knew, but like the rails were just as good, if not crazier than anywhere else out there. It was like a secret gem. So I feel like I always have thought that it was such a unique and cool opportunity to be able to go and ride there, because the culture that was there too is like non-existent really, or people don't know about it so much, where it's like, I don't know, the leftover like slalom ski culture sort of. Yeah. I don't know, it's kind of one of the bright spots in that whole, the slalom ski culture, I guess you could say. It's pretty cool. Just, it's kind of like this place, but there's boats running all day every day, and yeah, it was sick. Lots of crazy stuff happened up there.
Yeah, I remember when I was real little, my neighbor they had a boat and they, you know, wakeboarded and stuff. She would always tell me like, yeah, we ride at this lake and it looks like coffee. Like it looks like milky coffee. And I was like, you're making that up. There's no way, like that doesn't make any sense. And then I got a job here and it all like, I was like, oh my God, that's what she was talking about. So like it clicked for me. I figured out that it was a real place and it did exist. So that's awesome.
It was cool. It was like the only place I ever heard of where you just, I mean, I'm sure they existed all over just in their own little worlds, but I never heard of a place where you could just go down and pay by the pass, like in the boat. It was like $4 down, $4 back or something. And you could only do you couldn't not get back to the dock. So you had to do 2 passes. So it was just like it's like buying a cable pass, but the boat's just running all day. It's like you run until you run out of passes out there. But
Yeah, totally. And you did not one, but two. What made you come back for another summer?
I mean, the people, like all the homies up there, I became really close with a lot of like the local Washington and Oregon riders that were riding for AWS at the time, the Cardozas, Zach Schneider, Dan. I mean, it was just like fun, really good time. And I don't know, it was cool to get to that part of the country. And once I got out there, it's something that I feel like everybody should definitely experience, at least like visiting, because it's different from anywhere else for sure.
Yeah,
And
totally.
yeah, that second year I got offered the manager or head coach or something,
Nice.
a higher position, where I was like,
Nice.
okay. And yeah, everything went pretty smooth. I did run a boat into the bank one time, and I thought I was gonna get fired for sure. But I also was doing it just to like save this kid, because he was trying to get the best bang for his buck. He wanted to get one last trick on his second pass, and he didn't pay for the next one. And if you did the turn as somebody was hitting the wake at the last second, they would get whipped into that dock there. So I had to like hold it straight, and ended up parking it right up on the side. But they were very understanding. And
Yeah, you had a heroic moment.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
terrified though. Terrified.
Yeah, that sounds traumatizing.
I think the boat was okay though.
Oh,
The boat was
well,
pretty much
that's good.
okay.
Oh,
It was like
rad.
soft mud.
Yeah, true. It's all mucky, so yeah, I bet it wasn't too bad. But okay, we'll jump into, I want to talk about how Valdosta started. So I'm going to make you start at the very beginning, when it was just a little idea in your head and it grew into what it is now. So let's hear it from the beginning.
All right. I've told this one a few times, so it should be easy. Basically, me and my business partner, Luke Tilt, we were college roommates on the same wakeboard team that I was talking about earlier at Valdosta. And our senior year, end of junior year, maybe at some point, we were just always talking. Fuel TV was really big, Camp Woodward, all that stuff. There's a bunch of really like cool, like extreme sports shows out at the time. So we were always just like talking about if we had the opportunity to do something like a Woodward or something like that, like this, or cable park. It was literally something we talked about all the time. And then at a certain point, I got like a legitimate sponsorship with Slingshot, so I was super motivated. And we kind of were like, well, none of us want to work a just traditional 9-to-5 job. So let's try to figure out how to make this work. We kind of like agreed that we would spend at least one evening per week to just like write down all of the ideas that we would have, and like just talk about them and elaborate on them and everything. So we did that, which was pretty easy because we were already like all amped up about everything. So it's pretty easy to do. And then by the time we graduated, we kind of had like enough for a pretty legit business plan. And so we kind of, that was sort of a time in my life where I was trying to figure out the pro wakeboarding route and all that too. So we kind of agreed that we'd graduate and kind of do our things individually. He was gonna get a job kind of in the corporate world. He was a business major, and then I was gonna pursue the wakeboarding a little bit just to see what kind of opportunities open, and we would basically in like 6 months circle back, but the whole time be trying to figure out how to make this park work. So eventually, it wasn't that long that we ended up coming back, but I graduated, got to go on some wakeboard trips, got to go to Europe and see a bunch of cable parks, like that have been around for decades, pretty much. So I really, that got all the juices flowing. And when I came back, Luke was already over the corporate life, so all the timing was working out. And so pretty much while we were in that like post-college transitional phase, he was working the 9 to 5. I was working on the business plan, and he was as well. And I mean, we already kind of had it laid out as just organizing and all that, and then shopping it around. And then once we were able to get some funding, then we found the land, and that was a whole nother story. But ended up finding the land. They had the little pond at the front of our driveway, and so we kind of agreed with the landowner that while we sorted out all the red tape to dig the big park and make what VWC is today, we would just start in that little pond and kind of like generate some interest with the 2.0s. So we got that rolling, and pretty much we were there for 3.5, 4 years or something like that, and got everything figured out to buy the land in the back, and the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah, totally. Well, when you were kind of getting everything figured out, getting that funding, were there, I'm assuming people were investing in what you were doing, or how did that work?
Yep. We had to find investors and get a bank loan. I had taken all of my savings, sold stock, and like pretty much everything that I had to my name, put into it.
Yeah.
And the beginning park was pretty feasible to pull off. But then getting the big park, we had to get like the big bank loan and all that. So that was definitely the hardest part. Like I said, we started off trying to do this from the beginning. The big park was always the goal.
Yeah.
So we were talking to one bank for 2 years, and they only meet for their approval meeting once a year. So you have like a banker, and he's like trying to push your idea to the board so that it gets unanimously voted on to where they okay it. And if one person says no, then you don't get it. So the first year, one person said no, and it was really just because they didn't understand what it was. And our banker was the one who's telling us all this information. We're not even able to be there, so it's just like you just hear what they say. And he basically assured us that that the next year is going to be a shoo-in. So we worked on it, tuned it up even more over the next year, had to wait a whole year, and the banker ends up coming back the day that we were like in our minds supposedly getting our loan. He calls us and he's like, bank president, and he just threw out all of the proposals that had been brought from the year before under the old bank president. He just said, we're not going to revisit any of those. So it was like a whole year wasted.
Holy.
And yeah, the only reason that we were going toward all town banks was because everybody kind of told us that it would be better for our business to support local and everything, but it turned out to be the exact opposite. And the first bank that we like researched and found that was in Atlanta took our loan and made it happen. So it was a kind of a whole thing where it was just I wish we would have done that from the beginning, but if we had, we probably wouldn't have learned what we learned and may not be where we are today. So it's probably a blessing in disguise, honestly. But it was frustrating at the time for sure.
I can only imagine. That's a good way to look at it though. So it sounds like, for the startup, that was a huge challenge and a really big barrier that you guys had to overcome and break through. Going in more to like the progression of it and growing it, like, were there anything else that was kind of challenging or that was like, oh man, like, is it worth it? Did you ever question it,
I get not really question it. Not really. It's always been kind of like we've always wanted to be the park that every rider wants to ride at, not just any park. Because I mean,
Yeah.
when we were building the park, it was like times were different. All the people who had ODub down there they all took it for granted basically, and probably rightfully so, because the management things just weren't as progressive. So it was like everybody who went to ODub all the time still talked shit about ODub all the time. And so like we wanted to be the park that every rider, no matter how good they were or not, we wanted every rider to want to come there and to be like happy to, be a part of being there type thing. So the goal, I mean, obviously the goal is to make money for sure, and it's definitely a lot harder to do it when you don't have like the aqua park and the restaurant and like all the stuff that takes a bunch of capital to start but can just generate a bunch of money.
Yeah.
It's the heart of it's always been in like the progression of wakeboarding and wake skating, and like, we've always been pretty set on the fact that like that's what made this place so special and makes it so special. So whether we're scraping by or killing it, I think we've always had the same sort of outlook that it's like always been worth it, and never really looked back, because kind of once we decided to do it, I don't think we ever looked back, because it was like, I don't know, it was so scary that you didn't.
Yeah, you're like, don't turn around, just keep going.
No. It's like you just, I guess we're doing this, and then you just like jump into the deep end and you just have to swim no matter what. There's not really like a safety net. So it's kind of weird, but like once you're in that position of like there's no choice at this point, like I've already, like for me anyway, it was like I already had put like every single backup plan, investment, or whatever I had set aside. Everything was put into that, and so it just felt like, okay, this is happening, or if it crashes and burns, I'm gonna crash and burn too, because I got nothing else to lose type thing. So I think that's always been the mentality, just to keep us our heads like straight ahead and not second guessing it. Because I mean, we've definitely had some trials and tribulations out here, but it's all learning. It's all a learning process, and it's all helped us become a better park, every one of those things.
Totally. So. I remember when I got to sit down and talk with Wes, he was kind of talking about, not only are you guys this super awesome, park, you've got a lot of other really cool things that go on where you're at that sets you guys apart from other places. So I'd like to kind of hear your, like after hours, what goes on, what, that sort of thing. I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, it's pretty seasonal on like the after hours activity out here. Depends on who's in town and what time of year and all that stuff. But we have a pretty solid community of our crew that lives out here. Everybody's like in and out different times a year. Sometimes like right now we have a pretty stacked crew, even though Wes just had to run to Mexico for a couple weeks to quarantine with Cena, but we still got like Trav, Cross, Derry, and Coty are here for the week. They just happen to be here. And this last weekend was just PWL, so it was just everyone was here. So it's just pretty interesting that we have so many people that stay out here at different times. So like sometimes you could come out and there'd be total ghost town after hours, and sometimes you could come out and be like what is going on. Everybody's raging, and it's, you know, it just kind of depends on what's going on. This last weekend was pretty wild. We had a ton of people here, but
Yeah.
when it's just the crew and we have filming or just regular life stuff going on, it's pretty mellow. But there's some good stuff around here that, like, we're only 2 hours from Jacksonville, which is nice, big sort of city, even though it's like gangland right now. But then there's like endless amounts of springs. I mean, 30 minutes from here, I'd say 30 minutes to an hour, you could probably hit like 15 different springs. And and we're close to everything else, Atlanta, Orlando, all the other hot spots. So yeah, I mean, you never really know what you're going to get into out here, but
I like that. I think that's
you never
good.
know who you're going to run into. Like today we got all the young up and coming boat kids are all here, like Sam Brown, Kai and Ulf Dish, Luca Kidd, Daniel Miles. They're all out here right now. I think that's the whole crew. But
rad.
Yeah, you never know.
They started a little group, I've noticed. I think they got some cool things that are going to come out of that. So I'm stoked to see where they go.
Yeah, they're all really good riders, and Daniel's really good with the camera. Yeah, I'm excited. The new wave of boat riders is sick.
Oh, cool. That's cool to hear. I'd love to get a little more detail on why you say that.
I think they just are putting a little bit of style into stuff, doing some different stuff. I mean, everybody's got their thing that makes them sick. I don't know. It's hard to say, but you know, anything between, you know, that replicates something similar to some Trevor Maurer, Josh Twelker maneuvers.
Yeah.
We like that. And yeah, I don't know. They just kind of got some sauce now.
I love it.
When they're not, I like watching, like, not the contest as much. Nothing against it, but I mean the contests are insane with like the combos of triple or double flips, like back to back and in 1080s and everything. But just watching like their posts and like individual tricks behind boats and stuff, it blows my mind. But it's a world I'm not so submerged in. So
yeah, wild. Well, I want to touch, thanks for that info, but I do want to kind of touch back. We talked about when you got started with Slingshot. Obviously that's a huge part of your life. I'd kind of like to know how that relationship started and how it's kind of progressed over the years and where you guys are at now.
Well, it actually started at Koppert Lake.
Rad.
Yep. So Eric was my boss, Eric Sund. And when I got there, they had maybe 20 boards. They were all boat boards and they were thrashed. And they were like, these are the rail boards if you want to hit the rails. So if you don't want to mess up your board, you can use any of these. So I broke every one of those boards and my own board. And I was like, the year before I had seen Slingshot, I might have been the only person who found their website in history of anybody. I was such a wakeboard nerd at the time, and still am, I guess. But I found their website. They didn't even have a product. It was just like a red screen. Colin Wright walks by. It was just his silhouette, and he just like flexes this board in a silhouette. And it was just like, what am I looking at? So I was fascinated. And when I got to Koppert, they had all the Slingshot stuff because it was the year Slingshot had released. So I'd broken all these boards, or I guess it was the year after they released. So this was 2008, and they came out in 2007. Yeah. So I ended up breaking the boards, and then we were able to ride anything out of the shop that we wanted behind the boat, but not on the rails. So I was ripping like every Slingshot model, trying every size, just like demoing it all.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't wait to ride them on the rails. And after I'd broken all my boards, finally my boss, Eric, called Greg Kish, who is now like, I want to say he's like the vice president of Slingshot. And it really wasn't even his job at the time to like flow me. I don't know. I don't know how they knew each other, but obviously somehow through AWS. But he just sent me like a Blem 2007 board. And so that was the first board I ever got from Slingshot. And I rode that all summer. And then my buddy Chris, who was the one who went out there with me originally, he ended up breaking it at the end of the summer, which was okay because I broke like 10 of his boards before that. So, yeah, from there I was like, there's no other company I'm trying to ride for. I'll just like keep pushing this until the day I die. And I pretty much have kind of stuck to it. It was not as easy after that. I don't know. It was like, I don't remember. I know names, but the old team manager and they just weren't so, I guess, enthusiastic about me, or I don't really even know. But I was definitely grinding pretty hard, and I was just annoying the hell out of them all the time. And yeah, eventually I kind of was doing this thing where I was talking to them, and I was kind of talking to them through Travis Probst. It was just years later, maybe 2 years later or something, trying to get like a legitimate contract. And then eventually it was like they stopped responding, and then I started talking to this other company, and then that was all looking really good, and then they stopped responding, and it was like right when they stopped, Slingshot started responding again, and then when they stopped responding again, the other one, it was like a back and forth like 3 times with both companies. And then by the end of it, Slingshot had hit me up finally, and I was like, and it was like the team manager or the rep at the time, Matt Sexton, big shout out to him. And he was like ready to give me a contract. So I signed that, and then the next day, the other company hit me up and was like, "We're ready to sign you on a contract." And it blew my mind. I was like, the world is so crazy how it works. Because it was literally the next day. It was like, finally, I'm doing something. And I don't even remember what the contract was. It was like probably for 2 boards a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was beyond stoked at the time. So, yeah, stuck with them.
Yeah.
Ever since then. They were a hard nut to crack, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like a battle.
Yeah, but it was like the Wild West back then. Cable, there were no rules. There's zeeching. There was just huge baggy board shorts. It's just like nobody knew what was going on yet. So
I feel like that's a good way to describe
myself included too. It was just literally just free for all out there.
Yeah.
Thank God for Wakes each coming along and straighten everybody out a little bit.
Get everybody in line and get you guys more dialed on stuff.
Yeah, I can't even watch an old video. Like, I watch any old videos of myself. I'm like, God, I wish I could just take this off of YouTube. It's so bad.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, you've got the, you've had it's the Space Tomb and the Coalition. How long have you guys had those boards being made over the years? Is it 3? Am I right?
We had a limited edition Coalition in 2017. Okay. That was also the last year that Slingshot did the Reflex, which was the board that the Coalition became.
Okay.
That was the board that me and Wes were riding predominantly. And so that was 2018, I guess, was the first one. And then we got the first Tomb came in 2020. So 2019 was just the Coalition again. And then 2020, we had the pink Tomb with the Pharaoh alien, and then the I guess 2021. Yeah, I get so confused with all the board graphics and the years. And we're like testing out 23 stuff and gets
Crazy.
confusing. But anyway, 2021 was the two graphics where they're like
Connected,
the
yeah.
skin peeling off.
Dude, yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, so that was also the Tomb and the Coalition. And then 2023 we have, or 2022 we have the Coalition, and there's a couple upgrades to it, bigger size.
Nice.
Nothing too crazy because it's already just such a good standard board.
Yeah.
And then the Space Raider is actually the other board for 2022.
Okay.
And it's just the goal with the Space Tomb was always to just kind of change the shape and keep it different every year. So we got a new shape coming. The new graphic is like my favorite graphic probably ever that Wes has done is on the Space Raider.
Nice.
And the new Space Mob boots are as fresh as it gets right now. And yeah, it's a lot of good stuff coming 2022 and then 2023. There's some good stuff coming down the pike. So
heck yeah. Well, I hope you and Wes do a little board overview and review, because you guys are absolutely hilarious when you do those. I think I've watched last year's too many times to count, and it still makes me laugh. So I will be expecting one of those, please.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. We definitely vibe when we get on camera for sure.
Gosh, you guys are awesome.
That's definitely on our list of things to do. I actually had a tear in my bicep a couple months ago, so I didn't have a chance. They did all the filming for the product stuff out in Europe this year, so that was like while I was down. So I don't have a very big presence in the product videos this year. So there will definitely be some tech talk kind of videos with us, just kind of going over some of the specs on the boards and the boots and everything. So
yeah, nice.
You can look forward to that. That's for sure.
I can't wait. Speaking of your arm, I remember when we were in Orlando, you had like bionic arm going on. I don't see that. Are you out of that brace thing now?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
That was kind of the last week/day. They had just told me I could take it off, I think the day before I was down there, but I wasn't so used to not having it on to where I felt super comfortable going out and partying. Like I was fine with it. I was fine without it on, but I just didn't want to be like partying or anything basically without it, because it's kind of a good reminder that your arm is messed up and you don't need to be trying to do a handstand or something like that. So, just trying to keep myself safe out there. And yeah, but it's getting better. Got a big scar right there.
Yeah, you got a scar to show for it for sure. Remind me, you told you told us, and now I'm like drawing a blank as we're talking about it. How did it happen?
We were filming and I was doing a trick into sort of a waterfall bank, like a big spillway, but from the side.
Yeah.
And I thought I was about to just ride away, and I was passing the handle, and when I got it to here, my arm just kind of, when I let it out straight, it just popped, and it was a definite something I'd never felt before, but immediately knew I tore my bicep. It was like the first thing I said when I came up from the water was I tore my bicep, and I happened to be right about it, which sucked.
Man. Yeah, that's a lame thing to be right about, but I'm glad it's getting better and you don't have bionic arm anymore. That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. I've been doing some one-arm wakeboarding out there, and we're about to go to West Rock this weekend to do a little premiere and ride our feature that they just got. So I'll be doing some one-arm riding
Nice.
but nothing too crazy. Still on the recovery right now.
That's okay. We're, I want to touch on, because you just talked about the premiere and everything like that. How was that event releasing the coalition, the trilogy? That's crazy. Congratulations on that. So rad.
Thank you.
I remember
Thank you.
watching that the bail reel that you guys like released beforehand, and I was like, dude, if this doesn't get you hyped to see what this is gonna be like, then you got issues. So, how was the premiere? How did it go?
Oh, it went so good. There had to have been like 100, at least 100 people maybe in our skate park.
Hell yeah.
And it was the night of the finals of the PWL, so everybody was already all jazzed up.
Dude, yeah, that's a big weekend.
Yeah, it was cool, and got a lot of hype from everybody. It sounded like everyone was really stoked on it. I'm really stoked on it. It's definitely the best part I've ever put out, I think.
Nice.
And I would probably say that about everybody's part in the movie from where I stand. That's how I feel about it. And yeah, it was a blast. Like you said, the crash reel really gets you hyped up to see what else is out there. Even the beer lady at the premiere thing was asking if I could replay the crash reel. She didn't even know what she was looking at.
She was so rad. I loved her.
Yeah.
She gave me
she
so
was pretty
much
cool.
shit
She was
because
putting us on.
I didn't walk up with my ID, and she was like, I'm gonna have to see that. I was like, okay, fair. Like, I don't blame you. You're doing your job.
Yeah, yes. That's funny. Yeah, she was a homie. She was a homie. She was like putting us on to everybody. She's like, afterwards, like everybody that I saw that didn't actually see the bail reel, she was telling them about it. And yeah, it was pretty funny. So when somebody who doesn't know what's going on is into it, then you've at least got something worth checking out.
Dude, totally. Oh, that's so funny. I had no idea she was doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying some of the people were like trying to get us to replay it again, and I think we just had to cap it because Cole wasn't trying to work all night up there,
Yeah, right. He's like, there's other things to go do now, so.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, I want to ask, where most of the filming was done for this last movie.
Well, all over, it's all winching, so there's not any park clips in there. There are clips at the park, but not winch or not on the cable, just winching. So a few spots are in Valdosta, a lot around Florida, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Tallahassee, maybe. Atlanta, kind of in between Valdosta and Atlanta. We went to Ohio for 2 weeks. North Carolina a couple times, South Carolina a couple times.
Yeah, you guys were all over.
Wes and Cena got clips in Germany. Darian Cote and Jesse Jarrett got clips in Canada.
Oh, God.
Some of the Friends section clips are from like Estonia and kind of everywhere. Just
that's so cool.
But it is pretty local though, I would say. I mean,
yeah,
there's definitely like the bigger trips were definitely bigger trips, but I would say the majority of the movie is filmed somewhere around the southeastern United States.
Nice. So. Okay. And how do you guys, keep it like so fresh with all the different things that you do? How do you like continue to pick these spots and, certain tricks that you're doing, things you're hitting? Like, I would never look at a concrete wall and be like, oh yeah, I could do this like little, like I would not think like that. So how do you guys how do you do that? It's crazy.
I don't know. I guess we've been doing it for so long now, and you just see stuff that other people don't necessarily see. It's definitely inspired by snowboarding and skateboarding. for me, definitely very snowboard inspired. And I don't know, the biggest thing about winching is it's so easy to go to a spot and just say like, oh, this isn't quite right.
Mhm.
If only it was like this, but like it's not. So
Yeah.
you're either gonna hit it or you're not. So for me, it's like I'm trying to find any possible way to hit that spot versus like I wish it was a little bit better. So like
Yeah, yeah.
it's winching. It is like to find a perfect spot is impossible. Like even the most perfect spot could be better when you're winching. So
Totally.
it's like I don't know. That's kind of the biggest part about it is or for us anyway, is being able to find so many spots. A lot of other people who winch would probably roll up to some of the spots to say, "Oh, that's not really a spot," or I wish if it was like this, I would want to hit it, but trying to find a way to hit it and not really like sacrificing it being cool. Like if it's not worth it, then we
Yeah.
just won't hit it. But
Yeah.
trying to like weigh out all the different ways you could possibly hit it, and even if it doesn't have anything to do with the water, you just find like maybe you wanted to hit something going this way with the water, and the grass over the water going this way looks way cooler,
Yeah.
and you just it's just it's fun. That's the best part about it is like you and your friends going out, and you don't really know what you're going to roll up to, and then when you get there you have to figure out how to make it work. And even if it's cut and dry and it's like this is the spot, we just have to jump down it. You
Mhm.
have to find out you have to find a spot for the winch, you have to find a spot to put the pulley if you can't
Yeah.
put the winch in front of it. It's like complex problem solving and puzzle making.
Dude, yeah, seriously. And then to grab onto the handle and just get ripped one direction and hope it works out. I mean, it's crazy. Like that the park bench, it's a bench, right? That you were hitting, like you released that clip the other day,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like over and over again, just getting tossed on your back. It's like that's crazy. And then for that to not even be like the one, I can't imagine that was
Yeah.
not frustrating.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Yeah. That one there's it's the problem is when you're in the moment and you're all hyped up and you put so much effort in, it's easy to kind of like blind yourself to like the small flaws where you like look at the
Hmm.
clip and it's on a tiny little screen when you're at the spot, and you look at the clip and you're like, yeah, I'm cool with, like on that clip you're talking about, like is like a like head bounce. Like if I would have like
Yeah.
smoothly transitioned to where my board hit like this and I stood up, that's what I was really looking for. But like
Hmm.
at the spot, I'd gone so many times. It was really hot because I was wearing that like sweatsuit and it wasn't really winter. And
Hmm.
so it was just, I was just ready to be done and got what I thought was it, glanced at it. I was like, oh, it's good. And like saw the head bounce and everything. And it was a little haggard. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like it like that. And then looking back on it, I'm like, when I watch it, I can't not see the head bounce now. And
Hmm.
it really just kind of took Wes editing to like help me lose the luster of just doing it kind of thing. So it's like
Hmm.
he had to be the one to first be like, yeah, I was gonna put it in, and then I kind of watched it and it was a little chunky, and then I'm like, yeah, let me rewatch it. Like, and he's, we work together on all this stuff. He's not going to just be like, no, it's not going in type thing. It wasn't
Hmm.
why didn't you put that in? Is like, afterwards, I always know, everybody knows that stuff may not make it in, even if you think it was good and it just doesn't go well with what you got going on in your part. So I don't know. I definitely reached out to Wes about that clip, and then once he kind of pointed out how chunky it was, and I hadn't really watched that clip in months, or
Yeah.
I don't remember how long ago that was, but it had been a long time. So I I rewatched it and I was like, yeah, I mean, if it was me right now, I would refilm it all day. But
Hmm.
in the moment, I just like let myself get too hyped up, and it was just, we were on a trip too, like hammering out spots. It was a 3-day trip or something like that. And I think that day we hit like 3 different spots in one day or something. And it was just me, Wes, and Cena. So for that day, so it was like, we were all, amped up that we were going to be able to probably get to another spot. That was the second spot of the day. So it was like, oh, I just got my clip. Now we're going to the next spot. So I don't know. It's frustrating, but it's also, you learn from it because, next time I will definitely be way more cautious about accepting a clip that could be on the questionable side. Sometimes something's funky about a clip and you like it and you're like, I kind of like the way my head bounced. It made it look cool, but then sometimes it's not, So I don't know. That's the beauty of the winch thing though, is like nobody can just go out there and take it from you really. Like if somebody wants to go put in the same amount of work that you put in to do something, to do the same thing or something better or whatever, then they do it. So there's no like beef or anything like that, because you're not taking anything from somebody. And if you're putting in the effort to like get a spot prepared and like make it a real hittable spot and somebody else goes back and hits it, then you should be even more stoked because you've created a thing that wasn't a thing before, kind of. But yeah, I definitely will be a little more picky about my clips for the next one. But honestly, there's only two clips of all of mine, I think, that didn't get used that I was like really stoked on. That one, and then we actually ended up using the other one, and the other one was just because it was just a different thing. It wasn't like a real trick per se.
Yeah.
No, it's like a really tight, I'll spoiler alert it. It's a really tight turnaround inside of a boathouse. So it didn't really it's hard to find the place to put it. So like, like the boat garage or whatever, it's got like a 2-boat garage under a house. So I like did a turnaround in there, and to me it was like the sickest thing ever. But but it, hard to translate, and it also didn't. That was all it was. It wasn't like I did this full line of like rails and turn around. It was just a turnaround, but I found to get it in there, and I think people will be hyped on it too. So
sweet.
I'm excited. We always find a compromise, and I'm excited for everyone to see it. Yeah, we're doing another premiere at West Rock. I was talking to Dan a little bit about y'all doing something up there.
Yeah.
I don't remember the dates he was saying, but I think it would be feasible. We just have to figure out. We'll probably have to upload it to a private link or something.
Yeah.
And then,
we talked a little bit about, we were like, oh, we should like try and get together, watch it in the shop. That'd be dope, right? And then we were like, why wouldn't we go across the street to the bar and put it on TV over there?
Yes, that would be sick. I went to that bar. I've been there.
Dude, Ice House for the win every time.
Yeah, that was sick. That was the first time I'd ever actually been to that location of the AWS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd never been in there before.
Dude, yeah, this is like the main hub. It's rad. And the ladies across the street that run the bar are wonderful. So shout out to Ice House.
Yeah, they took good care of us up there. We were too rowdy. Some people were just blacked out, I remember.
It's even with the stars. I mean, it's hard not to just go full send every, so.
It was a total blast. I'm pretty sure Bob Sovin, not to throw him under the bus, I'm pretty sure he did one of these too, didn't he?
One of these interviews?
Yeah. Did he or no?
We're talking about it. He was a little iffy at first, and then when I ran into him in Orlando, I gave him what for, and I was like, dude, you have to be on my podcast. So it's in the works.
Well, when you get him, let's get him to talk about how he was placing bets on human beings to fight each other on the trampoline at the after party.
Oh, the wrestling. Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah,
Oh
there was
my
a
God.
wrestler. He was putting big money down. He was trying to get the whole house to put wagers in on these
Oh
two
my
guys
God.
wrestling on the trampoline. I think they
I'm
broke
pretty
the
sure-
trampoline.
I'm pretty sure there are boys. I'm pretty sure it was Dennis and David were the two guys that were,
Yeah.
because they're the wrestlers.
They were locals.
Yeah, they're local.
They were locals for sure.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I didn't see it happen. I've heard about it all over, and I'm like, when the hell were you guys wrestling? I never saw it.
I just kept on hearing Bob running through the house trying to get money from everybody to put down, and he was talking a bunch of shit, but then it was instead of him wrestling people, he was getting them to wrestle.
Betting on others. Yeah, that's so awesome. Oh my God.
Classic Bob pulling all the
I love
strings
it.
behind the scenes.
Yeah. Oh, that's rad. Well, yeah, I am hoping that we can, get together here and watch the trilogy, because that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I'll get it figured out with Wes, and I know he'll be down to. I guess we just have to upload it to a private link is probably the fastest way to do it. So
Yeah,
we'll
be in contact about that. But
for sure.
now that it's it's been premiered, you guys have been showing it here and there. Kind of what's next for you guys?
Oh, well, we're probably just gonna keep on filming and see what comes from it. We're about to get our new winch, our new electric winch, the Moto winch. They have their first production model, I guess, come out, and so we'll be trying to do a bunch of stuff with that. Everybody's kind of getting their stuff together over the winter time. I'm about to have a baby at the end of November.
Dude, yeah, that's so
Wes and Cena are engaged.
Lots of really cool stuff happening.
Dope.
I'm a November baby, so I am stoked that you're going to have a November baby.
Nice. Yep. By default, I have to say absolutely now.
Yeah, you can't not agree with me.
Exactly.
So exciting.
Yeah, so pretty stoked. Space baby in the future, and then really just trying to keep it going. These electric winches are making it easier to travel and do it. You can bring them in your luggage. You can check them on an airplane. You can take them all over the world. So we don't, as far as I know, nobody's got any plans of slowing down in the crew.
Good. And that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's, got more stuff going on than ever right now. So, that's awesome. I will definitely be working on the next project very soon. I mean,
Rad.
As soon as we get back from West Rock, I think I'm going by to pick up my winch, like as we are leaving the airport to come back to Valdosta. So from that point forward, we'll be filming more winching, and Wes and Cena will be here for the fall. Nice. So we'll be able to do some more filming on the 2.0. We just remodeled the whole thing for PWL. So there's a bunch of stuff we can do over there and set up that's new. So probably film another web video. Maybe another coalition volume.
Like
and I think next year try to do another yard sale, try to bring it back or something along those lines.
Dude, yeah. Well, we are all very excited to see what you guys do and come up with in the next year.
Thanks. We're stoked to do it.
Rad. Well, I have one question before we end our interview, and it's, I thought it was going to be the most important question, and I remembered I have to ask you what you had for lunch, but are aliens real?
Well, in some form, definitely.
Perfect. That's what I wanted the answer to be. I love it.
In some form, definitely. I've seen enough that I've seen enough unexplained, super unexplained stuff, and
Yeah.
have video evidence of something, of some weird stuff as well. I can't say that they look like little green aliens, but I can say there's something out there doing something. That's all I know. Something's out there doing
confidential?
something.
Video?
No, I just haven't put it out yet, but
Okay.
it was on our winch trip in Ohio. I was gonna put it in my part for the movie, but it also was one of those clips that wasn't really fitting in there. So yeah, I might just put it out one day. I want to like, I need to put it in like the editing software so I can like follow it, because it's like these lights at night and hard to zoom in and with all the cell phone movement. But to track them all, I'm going to do all that, and I'll probably put it out at some point. But it's pretty much just a bunch of weird lights that have no possible explanation. And now there's been a few other things too that are just as unexplainable. So from where I'm sitting, there is something going on, and whatever an alien is, you can, I guess you could be objective about what you consider an alien, but I'm saying that as for what we think they definitely are real.
I love it. Well, we will end this interview on that note, because I agree they are real, and I am eagerly waiting to see the footage that you captured in Ohio. So, thank you so much for talking with me today. I had a great time. It was awesome hearing your story. We'll see you around.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Say hey to all the AWS fam out there for me too.
We will. Thank you so much, Quinn.
All right. Have a good one.
Later.
Space Mob or die.
Space Mob or die. I love it. See ya.
See ya.